Hey guys, welcome back to the Engage Your Destiny podcast. I'm Ben Peterson, the founder and CEO of Engage Your Destiny. It is such an honor that you would take some time to listen to this story today. Before we get into this unbelievable journey of faith of one of our warfighters, I want to encourage you to go to engageyourdestiny.org, learn about the great work that we are doing to advance faith in the military. And if you would, please make a tax-deductible donation and support this great work so that we can continue it in the military. You can also get a copy of the Engage Your Destiny book, Practical Ways to Run After Your God-Given Purpose. We are giving copies away to every military person that we train. So when you get that book, you are supporting putting it in the hands of our military. We have an incredible story for you today of Brad Penley, an EOD operator who is now in command, and we have such an incredible opportunity to hear his story. So stay tuned and let's get after it.
This is the Engage Your Destiny podcast, where your destiny is our mission. Serving our active military, veterans, and families. Welcome to the show.
Brad, thanks for coming on the show, man.
I appreciate you
It's
having
an
me.
honor to have you here, dude. So before we get started, I'd love to give you a gift. So this is our We Go Together. I'm gonna bracelet you.
Appreciate
Look at
it.
those meat hooks, man. I was hard to get that on there. So this is our bracelet that we do for We Go Together. It's one of our anthems with Engage Your Destiny. We go 2 by 2, right? We do everything as a team, as a brotherhood, as a family. And so by doing this, you're now coming on and you're a part of our crew.
I appreciate
So
it.
thanks
Part of
for
the team. Thanks so much.
thanks for being brave and coming in and telling your story, man.
Absolutely.
I want to read a little bit of your bio. So you are Brad Penley. You were born in Hickory, North Carolina. Is that like middle of nowhere, North Carolina?
Yeah, western middle of nowhere.
Yeah, got it. You joined the Navy in 2003 and went through the Naval Academy.
Mhm.
You've been in for 22 years. You've been in explosive ordnance disposal, EOD, for 18 years. You've been on 5 deployments. You were on the show Bomb Patrol Afghanistan, which came out after the Hurt Locker. You're married, been married for a year, and you have 2 kids.
That's right.
And like a brand new baby.
Brand new baby. Yeah, 1 month old.
And are you sleeping?
I'm getting great sleep. My wife is amazing. So
Yeah,
makes it easy.
my life rocks.
Yeah, my life is pretty awesome now.
That's awesome, dude. Well, let's start at the beginning. You know, we had the opportunity to interview your brother Craig, who's obviously on the Engage Your Destiny team, but would love to hear more. I know you guys had a competitive all boys growing up, and you're the oldest. So, what was that? What was childhood like with your brothers and with your family?
Childhood when I grew up was always a competition just for attention. I remember family videos. They would be really focused on the twins at the times, and my head would be bobbing up, like just trying to get attention
Yeah.
into there. But
So Brad and his brother. What's his brother's name?
my younger brother's Craig, and
Yep,
he has
Craig.
a twin brother, Micah.
Got it.
So they're 4 years younger than me.
So you're 4 or 5 years old, and now you've got twins. So it's like you remember specifically fighting for attention.
Yeah, at that point in time, I mean, all the focus was on them, and I had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Luckily, we lived in a neighborhood with a lot of other boys, so my mom would just open the door and say, "Come back," like at dark.
Yeah.
And or if something was broken or bleeding or something like that, come back. But it was a lot of brotherly tension, not always in a negative way, but
Yeah.
in a iron sharpens iron way early that we didn't even know that we were doing it that way. But
Yeah.
the parents, any parent, once you have more than one kid, you start getting spread
Mhm.
thin. Mom worked a lot, and
Yeah.
her work ethic is one of the most beautiful things about her.
What'd she do?
She was an elementary school principal.
Okay.
And at that time, it was like one of the more better known figures in our community, as well as from just a leadership standpoint. And all the parents knew her, all the community leaders knew her, and she had a big role to play.
Yeah.
But also played a big role in our church, always helping to lead worship or leading vacation Bible school.
Wow.
And then Dad was working 1 or 2 jobs more often than not, just to try and keep everything afloat. And so I think they were spread thin, as most parents are when they have young kids at home.
Yeah.
So there was
Capacity, energy, emotional capacity.
exactly.
Yeah.
And whether you know it or not, you're trying to vie for attention. You're trying to um, for engagement with your parents, and sometimes that sparks creative competition with your brothers, of which I'm the oldest, and I knew I kind of had to lead the way.
Yeah.
And I think my parents really put a lot of pressure on me being the first, especially my mom,
Yeah.
um, not to be perfect, but to achieve excellence.
Yeah.
B's weren't accepted in my house. I
Wow.
mean, A's were the only way you could go, or you were grounded.
Wow.
Piano lessons were a must, and all my friends would be out playing. Um, and so, mom really like wrote us hard for athletics, for education, to
Yeah.
just be exemplary. And then my dad also had a work ethic in a different way than my mom. But anything that needed to be done, he needed to do it
Yeah.
hands on. He wasn't going to pay somebody else to fix a thing,
Mm.
or he wasn't going to pay anybody else to do yard work. So I remember one time of a giant mulch truck coming to our house and dropping this huge load of mulch in the front yard.
Yeah.
Except it all needed to go to the backyard.
Yep.
So my job in July at like 104 degrees was wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow moving this mulch while my friends were out playing. And I think that just helped incorporate this level of grit into all of us kind of at a young age. And then my parents had this crazy idea when I was about 12, the boys were 8, to build a log cabin. And of course, they wanted to build this log cabin. They had land in the mountains to do it that my
Wow.
grandfather gave them, but they didn't want anybody else to build it for them. So for 4 years, me and my brothers uh, used power tools, cleared this land, build the whole interior of this, living in it like you would be camping. And we
How old
hated
were
it.
you?
I was 12 to 16. And
Come on,
we
dude.
spent every weekend and every summer doing that. So if I wasn't swimming or doing school, we were up there
Building.
building and working. And my brothers were even younger, using power tools and learning how to do this. And it just sucked. And I remember missing most of my friends, like parties or things at school, extracurricular activities, dances, sports things. Like we just didn't attend those. We just
Wow.
worked. And at the time, I hated it so much. But as a shout out to my parents now, it's like they weren't trying to make happy teenagers. They were trying to create successful adults.
Yeah.
And I think they really did well in that looking back. But at the time, it was just like we hated them. We hated how much they made us work. We never had a down moment, it felt like,
Hmm.
growing up.
Wow. So did you feel loved?
I definitely felt loved. Um, but more often than not, I felt pushed more than I thought I could handle,
Yeah.
or more than I thought I had the capacity
Yeah.
to handle. Um, and almost times that my achievements that I did achieve weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And there was always the next level I had to get to or
Yeah.
go to, which, I mean, thankfully, um, that really pushed me past what I thought I could do at my own capability level,
Yeah.
which is amazing of them to do that. So it was a tough love to kind of get there. And I really think they did that because they wanted all of us to have a better life than they had, which should be the goal of every parent,
For sure.
to give your kid a better life than you had. And I remember one time, I mean, I don't know if my parents were like strapped for money or dad was going from one job to another job, but one time I had to go to my mom for lunch money, and she had to dig into these bag of silver coins that her dad had given her as a gift, and they were sentimental and meant something, and she gave it to me to go have lunch money that day. And that kind of always stuck with me, of her sacrificial love,
Yeah.
but also knowing that she wanted to push us so we would be successful in our own right.
But you felt safe enough to go ask for that lunch money,
Right.
knowing that they were struggling.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said there. It's interesting. I felt afraid to ask for lunch money. So there were many times I didn't have it
Yeah.
for lunch. And, because I didn't feel safe in my home, right? So like the fact that you felt safe enough to ask, right? There's something there where they establish something in you of you can come to me.
Mhm. Yeah, our parents, I mean, they were involved in the church. My dad was a deacon, and my mom was always wrapped up in something there. So we always felt like their love,
Yeah.
and love from our grandparents and the kind of church community as we were coming up. So there was no lack of love. There was no lack of discipline
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And just heavy amounts of discipline also, which probably contributed to my teenage years of rebellion. And at one point in time, I was swimming at a high level in high school. My dad got a new job. They had to move back to Hickory. We were living in another town, and they gave me the option to stay back and keep swimming with this team and this coach I was swimming with, which gave me this aura of autonomy
Yeah.
early on, which was great. I was doing well in school. I was doing well in swimming, so they let me stay with some other families and do that. And then I decided to come back and be with them, but by that time they didn't have a room for me. So my brothers were staying with my parents, and I could come back and live with my grandma, who was
Yeah.
across town. Um, but by then, like my wings had kind of been spread,
Yeah.
and I was not ready to be clipped at all. And then that's when a lot of rebellion started happening. But the problem was, and then what eventually led to a heavy downfall later in my life was I was able to perform in every way that the world wanted me to perform, um, in school, in athletics, socially,
Yeah.
while still doing things that were extremely detrimental to my life, my well-being,
Which is like
my
what?
relationships. I started looking at pornography. I think the first time I saw pornography when I was like 5 years old. And then I was pretty heavy into porn by the time I was 13. And this is the rise, the internet started coming up, and
Yep.
the whole parts of my day would be consumed. I remember just like whole summer days, I'd be like by myself in between swim practices, and pornography would consume me. And then it wasn't too much longer when I was about 15, 16, and alcohol really started coming into the scene. I remember the first day I skipped school, and we got a bottle of vodka and orange juice and had screwdrivers, and I threw up so much.
Yeah.
I came home. I knew I had to go to swim practice that afternoon, but I couldn't function. I was living with my grandma at the time, and she's the sweetest lady ever. And I didn't want her to know that I'd been drinking. So it was like, then started like closet alcoholism,
Wow.
or what then developed into like very high performing alcoholism,
Yeah.
where I could get blackout drunk on a Friday night and then get up the next morning and do a 3 hour workout and beat anybody that was doing the workout with me, um, and could do that consistently until, it really, really took a toll later in my life. And I really feel like evil doesn't smack you in the face. It always tiptoes in through the back door and starts just adding one link of a chain onto you at a time. So you don't realize how burdened you have become with
Yeah.
every step, with every link that's getting added
And how
onto you,
shackled you are.
how shackled you are. So it took me clear into my 30s to find out that I was in bondage to pornography, and I was in bondage to alcohol, and that was something I needed to break. I got baptized when I was 13.
Yeah.
I'd grown up in the church, like I knew who Jesus was. I knew, that if I believed in him, he'd save me. What I didn't know at the time, and what a lot of new Christians or even people that have been practicing for a long time don't know, that you can believe in Christ and still be held in bondage
Yeah.
to these different things of the world. Not only that, man, being in bondage to pride
Yeah.
was huge. I was completely addicted to social media, and through that, people pleasing,
Yeah.
which ended up carrying just a tremendous burden in my career and relationally, as I was always trying to make everybody happy, which just drained me completely as it went on.
Wow.
Hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of the Engage Your Destiny family and listening to the podcast. I want to share with you an exciting new development, as God has opened the doors for us to launch our program at Fort Carson, Colorado this summer. Fort Carson, Colorado is the home of the 4th Infantry Division and the 10th Special Forces Group. These are some of the most elite warriors in the world. So we are expanding our program, and we need your help. Just for $44 a month, month, you can support a soldier, feeding them, loving on them, getting the material support, giving them the opportunity to go to Engage Your Destiny retreats and events to bring healing into their life and transformation to their faith. So I want to invite you into this, to join the team and to join the fight as we are expanding our program. And we need to remember that those who are willing to die for their country deserve an opportunity to know the God who died for them. So join us in this and let's advance this ministry together. So why the Navy?
I was swimming at a high level at that team in High Point, North Carolina, and there was another swimmer that was a couple years ahead of me named Nathan Hagee, and he was just an amazing guy, somebody I really looked up to. And he graduated high school. He had long, curly brown hair, and he went someplace called the Naval Academy. I didn't know what that was. And he
Yeah.
came back with a shaved head, but when he came back, it was like the whole town like just celebrated this guy.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, what is this? And
I
talked
want
to
to be
him
loved
about
like that.
yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, I want to be admired like that. Like, what is this guy doing? Like, what is this whole thing? And then unbeknownst to me, he had a recruiting officer. There's like regional recruiting officers for service academies. And they're called blue and gold officers for the Navy. And that blue and gold officer said, "Hey, Nathan, do you have anybody else that you think would be interested and capable of doing this?" And he gave him my name, which was, super humbling. And that kind of piqued my interest at an early age, maybe 8th grade, freshman year of high school. Then when we moved back to Hickory, North Carolina, I was a junior and sitting in Mike Pasor's history class when we saw the planes hit the towers and saw the second plane hit the tower and just felt an unbelievable urge and calling to do something.
Yeah.
And so I had kind of matched that up with the Naval Academy. The global war on terror had just started. I was swimming at a high level and found out the Naval Academy, like other D1 schools, had a swim team. So got recruited by them to swim for the Naval Academy, and went into the Naval Academy thinking I was going to be a Navy doctor because I had done some internships over a local doctor in our neighborhood that was an amazing mentor, amazing guy.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought I was going into. And then the first couple months of the Naval Academy is plebe summer, and that's just when you basically get stripped of everything that you thought you knew.
Yeah.
And you're a
You said
plebe, which is a
bleeps?
slave.
Bleeps?
Plebe summer?
Plebe summer. What is
Yeah.
plebe?
It's an old Greek word meaning slave.
Okay. So
And
slave
so,
summer.
yeah, your head shaved. You own nothing that's your own.
Yeah.
Your toothbrush is not your own.
Yeah.
Your underwear is not your own.
Yeah.
Everything is issued. Everybody's the same. And they're stripping you of all your old identity
Yeah.
and building you into something new. And that's when they basically told me that only a few people will get to go to be a Navy doctor, and you're not going to be one of them.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And then I got into plebe year, and plebe chemistry was like the hardest class you can imagine. There was like 2 killers of plebes, and it was plebe chemistry and plebe calculus.
Yeah.
And would not fail a lot of people. But after I couldn't barely pass that, I was like, Navy doctor's probably not for me. And then I spent a couple years wandering about, trying to figure out what I was being called to do or what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Each summer we get to go to do training blocks. One summer block you get to go with the Marines. One summer block you get to fly airplanes or go on subs.
Oh, wow.
Or go on ships. And all of that was like, it was okay. It was fun. It was the first time I was experiencing the world and getting outside of Hickory, North
And
Carolina.
who'd you go with?
And so by the last summer, all the guys on the varsity men's swim team, not all, but a lot of them were either going Navy Special Warfare, SEALs, or EOD.
Yeah.
So I went and checked out the EOD units over one summer, and I was sitting in the operations officer office, and like 4 new enlisted guys walked in the office, and they looked like sentinels, like the embodiment of what every 1940s Navy poster looked like. Just barrel-chested guys, giant arms, decked out in their whites. And I was like, I want to be with these guys.
I would be with these guys.
And then you go through pretty strenuous selection process at the Naval Academy, which includes like a weekend screener of no sleep and 24 hours of beat down
Yeah.
session, and a bunch of physical screening tests just to get to that. So you had to perform at a peak level to either go NSW or EOD, and you make it through that first set of screeners, second set of screener, and then you can go to the screening weekend. And then if you perform well during that, then you can go to the summer cruise with an EOD command. And then at that EOD command, you're getting screened again, and then they'll give recommendations of who they want in the community after they've experienced those people. After all that said and done, you go
Now,
through
real quick, what is EOD,
explosive ordnance disposal.
and what does that mean?
Explosive ordnance disposal, n- they take care of all remnants of war or impedance to assault. So we clear everything from landmines to unexploded bombs, missiles, rockets. And Navy does specifically underwater ordnance to include torpedoes and mines underwater. So
And you wanted to be in that community.
I found out I wanted to be in that community. It was the smallest community in the Navy. There's only about 400 officers, about 1,200 enlisted. At the time, it was the best known secret. Nobody even knew about it. I'd never heard about it. I didn't even
Yeah.
know this was part of the Navy. We
Right.
don't get briefs on this at the Naval Academy. It was relatively unknown if it wouldn't have been for swimming on the swim team and have a couple guys ahead of me go into explosive ordnance disposal. And at the time in 2007, the war in Iraq was hot and heavy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it changed from an assault to irregular warfare.
Yeah.
And same thing happened to Afghanistan, whereas no longer firefight on firefight, but an insurgency was rising there. And 80% of the coalition casualties were from improvised explosive devices, IEDs, typically called roadside bombs. And the NSW guys at the time were doing like VIP support, very important person like support and security, but not doing a whole lot of direct combat missions. And the EOD guys were running nonstop, and it was the greatest need. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
My mom was not overly happy
I bet
about
not.
my career choice at the time. But after graduation, we just happened to be walking in downtown Annapolis outside the Naval Academy, and a 2 or 3-star admiral in his uniform was walking. We bumped into him, and he saw that I just graduated, and he asked me what I was going to do. And I said, explosive ordnance disposal. You could see the worry on my mom's face, who's standing right next to me. And he just looked at her and he said, don't worry, ma'am. They're the best trained we have in all the military.
Wow.
And so from that moment on, I got a little confidence. I was like, okay, I hope what he's saying is right.
Yeah.
And then my mom, got a little confidence. But man, once I did get into the training pipeline, it is just mind blowing about how many resources and how much capability they build into each individual sailor that goes through that. From just a dollar amount, millions of dollars per person gets put into our training pipeline, which is over 2 years long.
Wow.
From the time you start to the time you finish.
Wow. So how long was your training?
The training pipeline for explosive ordnance disposal is about 2 years. You first go down to Navy dive school in Panama City, Florida.
Yeah.
At the time, it was 3 months. Now it's 6 months. The officers go through what's called joint diving officer, and you learn how to do all kinds of combat diving, from scuba diving to different rebreathers that we have to use. And specifically for EOD, there's an underwater rebreather that is non-magnetic, so you can dive in a minefield that could be set off by magnetic signatures. And now our junior officers get hard hat training, so you can be a deep sea Navy diver and run a deep sea Navy diving mission for salvage and heavy salvage as well.
And where's your faith at in this whole portion of going to EOD and starting this process?
I think coming out of high school and into the Naval Academy, my faith was so surface level.
Yeah.
I'd grown up in the church, and I knew it was a thing you did on Sundays. I was saved, but I didn't know that I was walking on a day-to-day basis with like a personal relationship with Jesus. I would go to chapel on Sundays when I wasn't too hungover, because it felt nostalgic.
Yep.
And it felt like healthy to be there and to be kind of like out of the chaos for a while and just listen to some old hymns that I knew, think about my family, um, sometimes think about how I could be better, but it was very loose, um, and more just a religious act and
Yeah.
not so much a relationship. And then definitely as I graduated, I was partying my brains out at the last year at the Naval Academy, and then afterwards, we're so excited that we got through. We're so excited
Yeah.
that we survived. The whole culture back then was just go out and get blackout drunk, celebrate with drinking. Everything, all of our social engagements revolved around drinking. So it wouldn't be uncommon for me to just be completely hungover at church when I showed up. And I'm sorry to anybody that sat next to me and had to smell that, but
Yeah.
you know, that was just the culture. And nobody really looked down on it. Nobody really said there was a problem with it. So I didn't think I had a problem with it. It was just what everybody did. And I was still performing at such a high level. I didn't think I had any problems.
Yeah.
And then once you go into EOD training,
Which are they? Because I mean, I've interviewed a lot of SEALs and operators and different things like that, and it feels like at SEAL training they're just trying to kill you, and try to get you to quit. Is that the same kind of thing in EOD? I mean, are they spraying you with fire hoses? And
yeah, before I started dive school, back then dive school was a screening school.
yeah,
Um, So I think a couple classes before me, somebody died from heat stroke.
getting pushed that hard.
Like getting pushed that hard. Somebody probably. We definitely have multiple people during each pool phase, which is where you learn to just absorb the highest level of pressure underwater. You're getting punched, you're getting hit, you're getting all your equipment ripped off of you, and then you have to just take it, and then
Yeah.
you have to calmly reestablish everything to make sure you're in control.
And when you say punch, are you talking about like a thing or like
Literally, like elbows to the face.
Yeah.
I remember there were supposed to be soft, medium, heavy hits in a progression. I just remember my first hit, my head just like smacking off the bottom of the pool, going, that doesn't feel like a soft hit,
Yeah.
and just like really feeling it in my neck, like I had whiplash, and your head gets banged up along the tank, and you're at the bottom of a pool, you're breathing compressed gas, and the way the physics works is if you bolt to the surface, that compressed gas expands in your lungs as you bolt, and those air bubbles can go into your joints or into your brain and kill you pretty instantly. So every one of these hits is like a life or death situation of, is this guy going to bolt? Or if you're doing it with a partner, is my partner going to bolt? Am I going to bolt and drag my partner up with me and kill me? So
Wow.
from almost the first instance of all of our training in explosive ordnance disposal is high risk training, whether we're diving, jumping, shooting, doing demolitions. So on a day-to-day basis, it's life or death. And they're trying to instill that in us very early, that there's no joking around, there's no messing around, there's no mediocrity. And at the time, the phrase for EOD was initial success or total failure.
Wow.
And imagine having that pressure on you.
Initial success.
I already put enough pressure on me to
Yeah.
be successful internally. And now another slogan saying initial success or total failure. Because in my line of work, you snip the wrong thing, you touch the wrong thing, you move in the wrong way. Not only are you dead, but maybe everybody else around you is dead.
When you're going through this 2-year process of training, what do you remember as one of the darkest or hardest moments of going, I don't think I can do this, or when you really got to your lowest point?
Darkest and hardest time. I was in the IED portion of school. You'd already passed through a portion, the initial portion where you learn how to just do a reconnaissance, where you learn how to just approach an explosive device without killing you and everybody else. Then you move into ground where you're looking at like hand grenades, landmines, rockets, mortars. Then you go into air where you're looking at like things shot from airplanes, either air to air or air to ground missiles.
There's so many ways that they come up with to kill people.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And
Yeah.
then you finally get to what was then the bread and butter, which was improvised explosive devices.
Yeah.
And this is where you train to put on the bomb suit and you're going down range on a something. You don't know what it is. You don't know what the components are. Each one of them can look different.
Yeah.
And it's in Florida. It's 105 degrees, 90+% humidity.
Try or 100%.
And you
Yeah.
put on a 90-pound bomb suit
Yeah.
that doesn't breathe.
Yeah.
It's got little fans in it that just, all it does is not to keep you cool, but to just prevent moisture from showing up on the
On your
on the
purview.
screen,
Yeah.
that on your visor that you're looking through, and it's all top heavy. And you're going down range with tools and X-ray, and then a percussion actuated neutralizer, which is like a shotgun barrel that could shoot different rounds depending on what you needed to defeat a battery or defeat a switch or defeat a wire. And on the first,
And you have no gun.
no gun on this one. You can have like one strapped to your chest, but in training we didn't. And I went down, and I forget the first one, but I failed. Whatever I did, they have things called a 16-point hit. So you can make an 85 or above on whatever written test or a practical test, and you can still pass. But if you had a 16-point hit, that meant you did something that could kill you and or everybody else.
Yeah.
And so you automatically failed. So this was my second attempt through. And you only get 2 tries at any test. And then you're booted out of the whole program.
And this is your second attempt.
And this is my second attempt going up. And so I go down, and I remember this was an ammo can with a taut wire going across it. So I had to X-ray it, come back, view the X-ray, and figure out where I wanted to take my shot to take this out. And I come back downrange, and I adjust my percussion actuated neutralizer pan, and I accidentally hit the string, and the string went boing, but it didn't make the buzzer go off. It didn't make it like pop, explode.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked back at the instructor, and I just kept going. And I come back up range, and I thought I'd failed again.
Yeah.
And I thought I was out of EOD.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to go to a ship or something else, and
Yeah.
wasn't going to live this dream. And he just said, "Good job." And I was like, "What do you?" Either he didn't see it,
Yeah.
or he was applauding the fact that I almost killed myself, but I kept going. And so, but after that, I had developed a nervous twitch in my right eye. My right eye would just twitch nonstop.
Stress.
Just the amount of stress. At EOD school, which is about a year and a half long, and then Navy EOD goes for an extra 10 weeks to do all the underwater. You learn one day, you study that afternoon, you come back the next morning, you study again, you take a paper test.
Yeah.
The next day, you go out, you do a practical walkthrough, you do all the practical stuff for that. You come back the next day, you do another test. So you're testing on average every other day.
Wow.
And every one of those tests is a do or die. You move on or you go home.
Yeah.
So that amount of stress was just unbelievable on yourself. And so we saw guys who are brilliant, people who have been to Harvard, who have been to MIT, fail.
Break.
We saw, people get rolled back often, and people have to get sent back to the fleet, and they were just studs. And you're like, man, so every day of that school was just such intense pressure.
Yeah. And you made it.
And by the grace of God, made it through there.
And you're still kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like not living for Jesus.
Definitely not living for Jesus. Again, I had a church close by, and I would go there again just for like solace and to like have a place to like turn my brain off. And I would pray like, God, help me. But I wasn't fully surrendered, because the night before I'd be out at the club with all the guys or going out drinking before, and had living girlfriends and doing everything nefarious that I shouldn't have been doing if I would have just read what the book said. But I wasn't reading what the book said. I just came to get the feeling.
Yeah.
I was just like a user, basically. And so get through EOD school, then you go to Army jump school for 3 weeks, learn how to jump out of planes. Then you go to EOD tactical
Got to do
school.
something with the Army. Come on.
Yeah. We call it Navy Appreciation Training.
Okay.
And then went out to do tactical training in San Diego, where you learn how to do everything from helos, all the insertion and extraction techniques. Then I went to my first unit, showed up right away, and then got sent to military free fall. Then went back to Florida to do advanced IEDs. And this is like every kid's dream. where you learn all these techniques to literally be MacGyver. And I remember my dad and I would watch MacGyver growing up, and he would read all these books about uh, the hero doing MacGyver-esque things and counter-espionage, counter-terrorism stuff. And we watched nothing but Rambo movies and
Totally.
Chuck Norris movies and Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So I knew I wanted to be that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And then I got to advanced IEDs, and we're learning how to like defeat alarm systems, break into cars, break into houses,
For what purpose?
pick locks.
Why do you need to know how to do that?
Any point in time, you could be called to have to go into a facility,
Yeah, a
break your
house.
way into something and go diffuse a
bomb.
very nasty problem. And like the culmination of that event, back in Florida, it's back in August.
Yeah.
I'm in a full chemical mop suit with a gas mask, rubber gloves, rubber boots, and I'm going up against an improvised radiological device with like 60 plus initiators on it.
And this is a testing.
And this is a testing in the shed. So it's probably 120, 130 in the shed, and I have an hour to fix this problem. And it gets down, like in the movies, to like the final 3 seconds, and I have to just make a clip. And the buzzer doesn't go off, the fake device doesn't kill me, and I just felt like collapsing there.
Yeah.
Pull off my boots, wring out liters of water.
Shut up. That much sweat.
And that much sweat. And I'm like, man, this is no joke. And I haven't even showed up to the game yet.
You haven't even gone to war yet.
No, not at all. And so then I come back to my unit, and within a couple of days, they're like, we're deploying to Afghanistan.
So let me pause real quick. So, hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of the Engage Your Destiny family and listening to the podcast. I want to share with you an exciting new development as God has opened the doors for us to launch our program at Fort Carson, Colorado this summer. Fort Carson, Colorado is the home of the 4th Infantry Division and the 10th Special Forces Group. These are some of the most elite warriors in the world. So we are expanding our program, and we need your help. Just for $44 a month, you can support a soldier, feeding them, loving on them, getting the material support, giving them the opportunity to go to Engage Your Destiny retreats and events to bring healing into their life and transformation to their faith. So I want to invite you into this, to join the team and to join the fight as we are expanding our program. And we need to remember that those who are willing to die for their country deserve an opportunity to know the God who died for them. So join us in this, and let's advance this ministry together. A lot of people would listen to this, and obviously we tell a lot of these stories, and it's kind of like, well, you got to do all this cool stuff and party and get all the girls and live in all this sin and have all this sex and you know what I'm saying? And like do all these things, right? So why can't I just live that way now and I'll figure it out later? I'll get fixed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go have fun, and then I'll figure the God thing out after I do all the cool stuff and I have all the fun.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to a 20-year-old?
I say, keep watching because it catches up.
Yeah, all right.
I keep watching, it catches up.
All right.
So go to Afghanistan. I'm on a battalion staff there, which is not what you want to do. You want to go operate right away.
Totally.
So I had to go learn how to be basically a staff nerd and do staff nerd stuff. But we're in Kandahar. We're getting rocket and mortars on us every day.
Yeah.
The first day that I
Did
was
you have
there,
C-Rams to blow them up or shoot them or no?
I didn't even know what that was. At the time, we still had dirt roads, and we were just like, we had bomb shelters that we could jump in.
Yeah.
The very first day I landed in Afghanistan, we had a ramp ceremony for an Air Force EOD guy that lost his life.
Wow.
Either that day or the day before. And I'm standing on the runway in the rain, which at that point, I didn't even know it rained in Afghanistan, but
Wow.
I'm in the rain and we're passing this coffin of an EOD guy that I don't know, but I feel like he's my brother. We're putting on the plane, and that was day one. And then we were living about a mile away from our headquarters building, right up against this new fence line that they had just put there. This fence line had no barbed wire. It was just a fence, like an 8 or 10-foot fence. And I just remember, and we had our weapons stored in an armory. I didn't even have a sidearm. I just remember sleeping with a hatchet on my chest, literally thinking like, well, if the Taliban comes over, I'm going to have to use this hatchet and my knife and just go to work.
Now, was
Uh,
that a legitimate threat, or were you just
yeah, legitimate.
green and afraid?
A green and afraid and legitimate threat. I mean, more often than not, you get woken up in the middle of the night and you're just in your underwear and flip flops, and you throw your flak jacket and your helmet on, and you're just taking indirect fire,
Yeah.
or pot shots that were coming in. Vehicle-borne IEDs would come and attack the gates and hit it. So there was the seemingly, it was like this odd, eerie feeling of never being safe, but at the same time, they had like a coffee and donut shop and like
Yeah.
a dude doing pizza delivery on
Yeah.
base, and you're like, I
Where am I?
where am I?
For
So your
sure.
nervous system is just kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
Plus trying to just like adjust to what combat is, because you've always read about it, you've been studying it for years, and now you're in it, and it's nothing like you ever thought.
Yeah.
So my job there was to build all these explosive ordnance disposal locations across the South, and I'm an O1, maybe junior O2 at the time, and I'm in charge of like building these projects, and start working with the Air Force contractor who's an O6 to build these things. And I found out that he would invite me Friday night to like watch a movie, smoke cigars, and I didn't want to. I didn't really like the guy, but I started showing up, and then called back to my dad to have him send me cigars and little mini bottles of booze so
Yeah.
I could grease the skids.
Yeah.
And as these programmatic reviews would come up and these construction builds would come up, my projects would keep getting to the top. And these other people way outranked me were like, "How are you doing this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Maybe they just need the projects more." But I knew it was because I was like greasing the skids.
Yeah.
And my bosses were very happy with me. And there was one day that like something bad happened. The Taliban was attacking a radio station, and my executive officer called us junior officers together and was like, "Hey, I'm going to need somebody to go out with another couple of EOD techs, hop on a bird, go do a specialized mission, go take down this radio tower, go blow it up so the Taliban can't keep using it to spread their message." He looks at another guy, not me, and said, "You're it, go on that." He looked at the other two guys that were there. He's like, "Brad, Nick, there's turds coming out of the stalls, out of the porta potties on our compound. I need you to go fix it." And I saw Nick just buckle. Like he wanted to be in combat so bad. And I remember at that time, just like a Bible verse is like, if you're going to do anything, do it for the Lord. So I was like, "All right, Lord, if I got to go clean turds, I'll go clean turds." And so I did it. And
And it was gross.
it was terrible.
Yeah.
But we got it all fixed and all settled. But then not shortly after that, I got a Red Cross message that my mom had essentially died. She went to the hospital to get a procedure done on her stomach, and they said she could leave. She went to go pick up the flowers on the windowsill, and then her heart stopped.
Wow.
And Dad started doing CPR. They got nurses back in. They revived her. So I get this Red Cross message, and now my command was awesome, and they got me from Kandahar, Afghanistan, back to Raleigh, North Carolina in like 27 hours. But it was such a shell shock
To come home.
come home. It was like I hadn't seen green in that long.
Yeah.
Everything's desert.
Oh, I remember.
I hadn't seen legs. I remember like you just don't see legs. You
Yeah.
don't even realize that.
And you see a woman's legs, and
And
it's
I
like,
just-
oh boy.
I remember standing in a grocery store just like feeling so out of place. But got mom home. She survived that. And then I get a call from my command saying, "Hey, you don't have to come back out here, but we want you to take the next platoon out." And I think they saw the hard work of getting that staff work done and,
Yeah.
literally cleaning up poop, and like this guy's can go do it. And then I was able to quickly turn around, do another workup, go back to Afghanistan, this time in a northwestern province called Faryab, right across the border of Iran. And it was where all new IED material was coming across. So we were seeing new stuff that hadn't previously been in Afghanistan. So new threats.
Yeah.
Everything is a cat and mouse game. As soon as we would have something to counter a certain IED they were making, they would bring in another, and we'd have to learn how to fix it and fight through that. And on that deployment is when we had a film crew with us to basically follow us through. So not only was I a new platoon commander with new guys, for the most part, going out into one of the most hostile and dangerous places in the world. I now had to keep a group of civilians alive and safe. And by the way, all of us are worried that if we mess up, it's now going to be on
film.
film.
Man, you guys, what an incredible episode from Brad to hear his story. And guys, we're going to be going so much deeper into it in episode 2. So do not miss episode 2. It's coming next week, but please like, subscribe, share this podcast, help us get the message out, and let Brad's story go farther than any one of us could imagine. We'll see you guys next week.